Hello friends and fellow adventurers, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kayla. I am a multi-passionate creative doing all the things, including but not limited to writing a fantasy duology, writing music for that fantasy duology, trying to monetize this YouTube channel, which would help if I stayed consistent, creating content over on Instagram, Substack, my Patreon, gamifying life. You name it, I'm probably working on it. And I'm all about embracing the messy middle, going at the pace of grace, which is usually very slow, and celebrating every win. Around these parts, we are very much anti-hustle culture. We are more about working within the capacity you actually have, not the capacity you wish you had, okay? So honestly, today I don't really have much of a script. I'm kind of going off the cuff, so we'll see how that goes. I probably won't do many edits in this video, but today I just wanted to talk about how to move through just disappointment, when specifically the kind of disappointment when you realize you had a goal either for yourself or a project, and you just kind of realize like life kind of hits you and you realize I'm not going to be able to meet that deadline anymore. And so you're going to have to shift your expectations. You're going to have to shift maybe your launch date, whatever the case may be. I'm experiencing that right now. I am self-publishing a book. The first one is called Wrought in Iron. It is the first part of a 2-part fantasy duology, and I was planning on self-publishing it October 7th. And I was really excited about it. I was on track. I was doing really well, really ahead of the game. And then earlier this year in April, I just had some life circumstances kind of hit me out of the blue, hit me like a freight train. And, that's something I'll share later, at a later date when I feel more ready to do that. But it really knocked me off my feet. And I still worked on my book and on all the different things that I needed to get this project done, but I slowed to a crawl. And a couple weeks back, I just started looking at my timeline that I had set up for myself and just realized I think I've missed the bus on being able to hit that deadline. And that was just really hard, really hard for me to accept, really hard for me to wrestle with, feeling like, as somebody who's generally a little bit more disorganized, I'm a little bit more chaotic energy, if you will. As you can see around, if you just look at some of these videos, you can tell like I am not the most succinct, organized person. I felt so proud of myself for coming up with this really realistic timeline, but also one that challenged me a little bit, but it was realistic, right? It was realistic in the sense that gave me some flexibility and space. And I basically burned through all of that extra space that I created, burned through all of that in like 3 or 4 months, because I just was so far behind. I wasn't expecting such a heavy hit, right? And so it was just very devastating as somebody who had become more structured in a way that was helpful for me, to look at this structure that I had set up that had really helped me get really far and realize I'm not going to be able to hit that deadline anymore. So I'm having to push back my self-publishing date. I was planning on self-publishing on October 7th of this year, and I'm probably going to have to push it back to December, maybe early January. So I'm probably going to have to push it back between 2 to 5 months. And it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. I'm still making progress. I'm still moving forward. I'm still writing. I'm still editing. So it's not like I've stopped entirely. I just realized that I've slowed down to such a pace that I'm not going to be able to hit that October 7th date. So what do we do? What did I do? What am I doing now? I think one of the first things that is really helpful, and I talk about this a lot, is just radical acceptance of really looking at your life, really taking a honest look at your life and accepting that you are where you are. As I started looking around at my current capacity mentally, I'm doing better than I was maybe, 4 or 5 months ago, but I'm still struggling, still very much struggling. So my capacity is just not where it used to be. And then I started looking at, my pace and realizing like I had fallen behind. Now, who am I behind? How am I really behind? I'm not really behind per se, right? Because it's my own deadline. I'm not trad publishing. I'm not trying to get an agent. I'm not trying to blow up on TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. So like technically I'm not really behind, right? But for my own personal victory, if you will, my own personal deadline, I'm behind. I just started realizing my pace has slowed and I can't move faster. I'm trying, I'm picking up the pace from where it was 4 months ago, but I really can't move significantly faster, at least not fast enough to make up the 5 months that I've had fallen so far behind. So I had to kind of accept, don't have the capacity I used to have. I'm not going the pace that I need to in order to hit this deadline, this internal deadline. And then I also had to kind of radically accept that maybe I just need to shift some goals for myself, of what success looks like in this project, right? I think we should have audacious, big, scary goals and dreams. I'm not saying we don't have those. I have a lot of those dreams that I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to do that. I think it's good. I think it's good that we have those. I think there's also the other side of that coin is to recognize that there are seasons in our life when we have to look at our life and recognize, like, right now, within my current circumstances, some of the things that I need to set up as a goal or a dream or a vision need to come a little closer than like the moon, right? It needs to come a little closer. So for me, I never had massive goals with this book. I was never planning on publishing it. And then my friend, I say she bullied me into becoming an author. And I mean that very kindly, but eventually after she read it, we exchanged chapters every week. She was like, you really should put this out. And then I got to the point where I'm going to put it out, but I'm going to put it out anonymously under a pen name and not tell anybody. And then eventually I built up the courage, like, okay, fine, I'm going to tell people about it. And then to the point where like, even I told my family I was planning on self-publishing this book. And while I didn't have massive dreams for this, I had hoped, like, I want to launch in fall because that's a great time to launch for fantasy. I've done a bunch of research on all these different things and just felt like fall is my favorite season. Like, this is going to be a great time. You don't want to push too far into like December. I had done all this research and I was hoping maybe not to go viral, but to be able to sell some books before the end of the year. And I just had to kind of radically accept that I think my version of success for this needs to be that I finish the book and I self-publish it. And certainly, I still have in the back of my mind this vision of it finds this great audience and I build this kind of small reader base that grows as my writing and talent grows, right? Because this is going to be my first book I'm self-publishing. This is not going to be my best work. I'm still very proud of it, but it's not going to be my best work. Usually authors hit their stride around their 6th or 7th book. So I am fully aware that I have a little while, but still in the back of my mind, I have this big dream that I kind of find this small fan base who just really love my writing and my characters and the way that I create worlds, and then they will grow with me. And I think it's okay to keep that. I think it's okay to keep that vision and that dream, but I also feel like for right now, with where I'm at, I've had to come to accept that your metric of success is finishing. And that's it. Your metric of success is finishing the book. And as painful as that can be at times, I think it also comes with a level of freedom. You know, it comes with a level of freedom of, I'm not adding all of this pressure around me. I'm not adding this expectation that I need to launch and sell all these books and, you know, make this huge profit and go viral, which I don't want to go viral. I really, really don't. I do not have the mental capacity to handle going viral. I really, really don't. So it was a really hard lesson to kind of accept, but it's also one of those lessons that I think is going to be more freeing in the end. So I've radically accepted, like, my metric of success has to be brought very close. Very, very close. And I think finally just getting to this place of peace, truly just looking at your life, accepting this is where I'm at. And you know what? There are parts of my life I still really, really love. Despite my current circumstances, there's still parts of my life I love and I'm very grateful for. And then there are other parts of my life that feel very disjointed, very confusing, very scary. And I can hold both things. I have two hands. I can hold both things. I can hold the tension between the two of them. So I don't know if that's helpful for you. Again, this is kind of rambly and I don't really have a direction of where I'm going with this, but if you're going through something and maybe you've had to say, hey, I had this really big goal, this dream, but kind of got hit by a freight train, like life kind of threw me off my feet. And now I have to kind of figure out, maybe this isn't going to happen on the timeline that I originally planned. I think it's okay to grieve that. But there comes a point when you look at your capacity, when you look at your pace, when you look at your metric of success, and you start recognizing, I don't think this is possible on the original timeline. I think you need to know that that does not mean that you are giving up. That doesn't mean that you are settling per se. It doesn't mean that you are throwing in the towel. Certainly the moments like this are moments where we can, in an instant, give up, turn away, and just say, I'm done. Certainly I've wanted to many times in the past. However, especially for those of us who feel such a deep fire and calling toward a certain purpose or a certain art medium or whatever it is, like we all, I don't have to explain it to you to know that for you to understand, like there's this thing, whatever your thing is, where you're like, I'm so done, I want to quit. But like, you know you're not going to, because it's going to pull you back. It's going to drag you back, kicking and screaming. So I think you have to understand that there are times where recognizing your timeline has shifted and you aren't going to be able to keep moving forward within your current capacity, pace, life circumstances, and metrics of success. You know you're not going to quit. So give yourself a break and recognize, this is not me quitting, but this is me having a moment of honest truth and radically accepting what is, and not trying to toxic positivity my way into believing something else. Like, well, if I can just, think positively and I can just manifest myself out of this. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it just is what it is. But like I like to say, not now does not mean not ever. It's a painful realization to recognize, hey, I thought this was for now, and now I'm realizing it's not now. It's painful, it's not enjoyable. However, I think if you can give yourself enough grace to look at your life and say, this is what it is. I don't necessarily like it, but this is the truth. This is what I'm truly experiencing, and I'm not going to be able to hustle my way out of heartbreak. I'm going to have to sit with this and get creative on continuing to move forward. You can still build whatever you want to build while you're still bleeding. You don't need to quit. You don't need to sideline yourself entirely, but you're probably going to have to take it back a notch, chill, maybe push that timeline out quite a bit, create some dreams that are like some dreams, some goals, some visions, whatever you want to call them, that are like so easy to accomplish that you trip over them, right? They're so easy because sometimes you just need a win, right? Like a win is a win. So like maybe we keep the big dreams, but we also like, let's create some small dreams, you know? Let's create some small dreams, some small goals that it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can do that. I can do that tomorrow. That's something I can do tomorrow. And then I want you to celebrate that, okay? I hope this was helpful. I hope this was encouraging to you. Again, I didn't really have a script. I was just kind of like, I literally am in my office, which I had to switch offices, by the way. So it's very messy in here because I haven't set everything back up. But I was like, you know what? I just feel like I want to say this from what I'm experiencing right now because I kind of made the decision today. Like, okay, I'm going to announce that I'm pushing my self-publishing date back. And that was like, oh, I've known it for a while, but I haven't said it out loud type of thing. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it was encouraging. I did just make something for you, and it's called the Do Less Side Quest. I think it's so fun. It's definitely corny, definitely cheesy, so don't judge me too much by it. But it's called the Do Less Side Quest. And if you find yourself in the messy middle of life, right? You are caught in the ghost town between where you were and where you're going. You're kind of in this liminal space where you feel desperate and overwhelmed, and also like, I need to do more, but I don't know what to do more because I'm not happy where I'm at. The Do Less Side Quest is for you. It is a 7-day challenge, and I wrote this little narrative, and you are the main character moving through these little narratives each day. They're, like I said, they're corny, but I think they're fun. And you are going to unequip armor that is no longer serving you. We're going to be talking about things like hustling, perfectionism, urgency or desperation. You know, we want to unequip some things that are no longer serving us in this season, right? And then we are going to equip some new armor, some new equipment that is going to help us move forward through this messy middle. Again, it's all about radically accepting what is, okay? Not gaslighting ourselves into believing something, believing for a version of ourselves that no longer exists. You know, maybe there is a version of our life that we need to accept has died. We need to grieve, maybe have a funeral and recognize like, this version of my life is gone. And on the flip side, it's also not over, okay? We can resurrect the dreams that we thought were dead. We can resurrect the life that we thought was over, but it might just look a little bit different. So this is the Do Less Side Quest. I have it linked down in the description. Again, I think it's fun. I hope you like it. I spent a lot of time on it and I poured my heart and soul into it. If you grab that, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. And if you don't have anybody in your life or nobody has said this to you recently, I want you to know that I am proud of you and your life is worth getting back up for. I'll see you next time, friend. Bye.